I have a 2002 X5 4.4 liter with a factory stereo. The stereo doesn't have navigation but does have DSP, and I'm going to be replacing the head unit, putting in aftermarket front speakers, and removing the factory sub and putting a small sub in the back. The reason for the video is not so much to give a detailed breakdown and step-by-step installation. A lot of information's on the web. I'll try to put some links on this on the YouTube video. It's more a way for people to feel more comfortable about the DSP system and how it really isn't that difficult to bypass it. I think people will upgrade the non-DSP systems because it's straightforward, but with DSP they feel a little intimidated and they try to make the existing system sound better. I think it's much easier to just remove the existing system, put in aftermarket equipment, and get much better sound. So anyway, that's the purpose of this video. Hopefully we'll clear up some mysteries as we go along. So the reason for changing out the stereo and the speakers is, number one, poor sound. It's surprisingly bad. You know, these cars were $60,000+ in 2002. You'd think the stereo would be outstanding, and it really is bad. Marketing wise, it probably sounded great on paper. It's got 10 speakers, digital sound processing. You know, it uses a digital bus to talk from the stereo to the amp. It's, you know, sounds great, sounds sophisticated and expensive. But when you actually listen to the music and the sound in the car, it's terrible. It's, you know, really a disappointment. So the biggest reason for me to make this change is just to upgrade the sound system. The other thing is, and this is pretty common, my display started going out, so I started losing some of the characters in my display. The display, that's the other thing. This unit looks old. It uses like LEDs, you know, or it uses like individual pixels to create characters on the display. So it just looks old. So another thing, aesthetically, you know, it's an upgrade to put a new stereo in. And then the other thing is functionality. Any new head unit you buy now has USB to charge your phone. Most have Bluetooth calling, Bluetooth streaming. You know, for $100 these days you can get a head unit that will do all of that stuff. So inexpensive to buy the parts. I think the reason why people stay away is because they're intimidated by an installation, because the car has DSP and it's not as simple as just plugging a harness from, you know, the existing harness into the new head unit. So again, hopefully I fill in some blanks and it doesn't seem like such a mystery, and it's pretty straightforward. You know, I've already started to remove things. I had already taken the radio out. I put it back in just to show you one quick tip. You know, you'll see on the web, to remove the radio, you use a Torx screw. Hold on one second. So you remove, first you pull the knob out. You use a Torx wrench or Torx screwdriver, half turn to the left, maybe even a quarter turn to the left, and that releases a latch. Now the thing is, you know, if you start pulling on it, you know, or trying to pry at it, you may or may not be successful, but you could mark up the unit or the, you know, the surrounding dash. It's just as simple as take a little screwdriver, put it in that hole, and this unit swivels. See? So if you're trying to pull at this end, you're not going to have any success. You got to just swivel this out. Once it's out, it just removes. Alright, so that's the tip, is swivel this out and then remove. Alright. So the CD player comes out. You can find that information very easily on the web. There's 2 screws right here. Alright, so again, if you have DSP, DSP is basically, this unit doesn't have direct connections to the speakers. What it does is it's got this connection that goes out to the amp in the trunk, and it basically talks, it passes data. So you adjust fade, or the fade or the balance or whatever. It doesn't actually do anything here. It tells the unit in the trunk to make that change. The unit in the trunk has all the speaker connections. So this is why we can't just plug an adapter and go right to the head unit and start using the stereo. We have to go back to the trunk and connect speakers that way. So that's the difference between DSP and the non-DSP units. So when you remove CD and the stereo, you're going to end up with these 3 plugs. This was on the stereo. These 2 were on the CD player. This is the antenna. And when I'm supposed to receive my equipment today in the mail, I ordered it from Crutchfield. They're going to give me something that connects to this, and then it has wires that I connect to the new head unit harness. But I also know that I have to run wires back to the trunk because, again, because of the DSP, I've got to make my own connections and go back to the trunk. So I'll show you what I'm going to do there. So let's jump in the trunk and show you what was there originally and what I've done so far to prepare for the install. Just wanted to show you real quick. This is the DSP amp that was removed. These are the 3 sockets that those plugs went in. It was originally mounted on this plate like this, and the whole thing was like that, installed in there. To remove this was just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nuts, and the whole thing just pulls out. The amp is fastened to this plate. What you want to do is you're going to remove the plate first, then you can remove 4 fasteners and pull the amp out. I'm going to reuse the plate because I'm going to actually put amps in the back, 1 for the subwoofer and 1 for the front speakers. Alright, here's a close-up. Here are my 3 connectors that came off the amp. Ignore this. This was part of a dice system that I originally installed so I could play my iPod on it, on the factory stereo. Spent a lot of time and money to install it. It still sounded like crap, but of course, it worked. But again, the new head unit is going to have the capability to do all this, and plus it's going to sound much better. So in this wiring is individual pairs of conductors that go to each speaker. Okay, so there's 10 speakers, 10 pairs of wiring go to each speaker. All you have to do is find which pair goes to where you want to put your new speakers. Even if you wanted to use the originals, you could try that, but it's just a matter of identifying the pair, splicing in, and making your connection. So this mystery of, we have to use the DSP amp because it's a DSP system, it's really just a matter of running wires back here and locating the pairs of wires that you need to make connections at the speakers. So that's all it is. So for me, I've got left front and right front. I located the pairs. It's blue red, blue brown for the right, and it's blue white, blue brown for front left. If I cared about the tweeters and the mids, I would locate those, snip them and splice in. But you know, again, I'm going to do this. This should be adequate. So what I'm going to do, because I have 2 amps, I'm going to use the original DSP amp mounting plate. I'm going to put that back in, and I'm going to fasten my 2 amps to it, and then I have to wire, you know, I have to do the wiring. Now power is already on this connector that went to the old DSP amp. You can see the dice unit had this is positive, and this brown is negative. I'm not sure I'm going to use that one source for both amps. They're not big amps, but I'm not sure the conductor size is big enough for both. I'm going to have to kind of think about that and do a little research. I want to make sure that I can draw enough off of this for both amps, and you know, without blowing fuses. And so I may have to run a direct connection to the battery to one of the amps, but I should be able to use this power for at least 1 amp. So that's it. So back here I'm only using these 2 pairs and power and negative. Alright, so my install will be a double DIN head unit. You know, it's sort of an upgrade. You know, because it's got the touch screen. It's going to be a touch screen. I could have gotten something for as little as $100, but this was probably $300, I think. But I think it'll look better in the car. I mean, when I go to trade this car or sell it, I don't want to have something too cheap in here. Especially, a lot of times people like to see the factory equipment in the car. In this case, it'll sound a lot better, and if it looks as good or better, then I'll be in good shape. If I put something cheap in, it's just kind of diminishes the, you know, the value, or at least the perceived value of the car. So, double DIN touchscreen and a pair of front speakers. They're going to be 2-way speakers. I'm not messing with components. I'm not switching, you know, putting tweeters and replacing tweeters, and you know, again, this car has 10 speakers. If you wanted, you could go in and replace all 10. Make all the connections in the trunk, and you know, I'm sure it'll sound great. I'm trying to do this, you know, getting the best bang for the buck. The head unit, I'm spending a little extra to make it look nice. The speakers, you know, for $100 you can get very good speakers that are just going to be much better than the original equipment. So I've got just a pair of 2-way coaxials that'll go in the door where the current woofers go. Right here, front right. The tweeter would go there if I wanted to replace it, and there's mid speakers up on the dash. But again, I'll just replace these with a full range 2-way speaker, and I guarantee it'll sound way better than the current system. So one other thing is, most people, you know, again, if you're trying to keep the cost down, you're going to probably want to just run the speakers direct from the head unit. So you can do that easily. We'll look at that in the trunk. In my case, I do have a couple amps that I've had for years, and I'm going to actually use an amp for my front speakers, and then I've got another amp that I'm going to use to drive the subwoofer, the factory subwoofer. Now, I'm not feeling optimistic about that. I think that the factory subwoofer is garbage, frankly, but you know, without going out and buying a new one, I want to at least give it a try. Put like a nice clean amp behind it, send, you know, the low frequencies from the head unit to the amp to those speakers, and let's see what it sounds like. I think in the end I'll probably have to upgrade, but I'm thinking, like, with quality electronics, maybe it'll be acceptable, but let's see. So that's my installation. Is you know, those amps. That's going to complicate the install for me. You guys may not be doing that, but I'm going to show you my installation, and you know, you can adjust accordingly. Going back to here, so we've got these 3 cables, but with a double DIN install, I'm going to have to cut here and here for the head unit to slide in. Once I do that, there's no turning back. So this was part of my decision making, is, you know, once I could put a double DIN in here, I'm not going to be able to put the factory stuff back in. So I want to make sure that it's a good quality radio that I'm not going to have any regrets about. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to mount one of my amps. Here, let me show you. This is a pretty cool old school amp, Audio Art. It's small, but it's going to be, it'll be great for the fronts. So this is going to be mounted down here, and then I have an old Rockford Fosgate 40 DSM that I'm going to probably mount on the back side here. So I'll have 1 amp on the back, 1 in the front down below. The whole thing gets mounted in there. The Rockford Fosgate goes to the subs, and the Audio Art will power the fronts. And I'll do all that again from my speaker connections here. I do need to run the low level output from the head unit to here. So I'm going to have 2 pairs, 1 for the front left, front right, and 1 for the sub output left and right. And I probably will run another set for the rear left and rear right. I'm not going to put new speakers in, and the speakers in the doors are crap, so I probably won't even use it, but if I do want to upgrade, everything will be here ready to go. Alright, here is a quick look at the 2 amps mounted on the DSP mounting bracket. So that'll be the sub, and that'll be the front, and it'll get mounted in here. This is the factory subwoofer. It's got this connection here, which if you follow the wiring back, it is back here, and it's a matter of I need to snip 2 more pairs to make the wiring connection to these 2 speakers. So I'm not going to use all of that wiring. There's going to be four conductors that are used, and these are 6.5s, I think, 2 6.5s. You know, I don't have much hope, but I'm going to see what they sound like, and I can always remove this. This is easy. 2 bolts right here, a bolt behind the fuse box. You have to loosen the fuse box and kind of pull it up out of the way. Then this whole piece can come out. Then, you know, if this doesn't sound good, what I'll do is I'll put probably an 8 or 10 inch sub in that same location. That way you don't see it. I don't want a sub out in the cargo space. So that's what we're doing. I'll be back when I've made some more progress. There you can see the seat. That's easy, no airbags. The seat just 16mm 4 bolts to this unscrew. You can see I've got 2 sets of low-level lines and 2 pairs of high level that'll go to the rear speakers, powered by the head unit. No amp on that. And there's the mess waiting for the head unit. So subwoofer, front left, front right, rear left, rear right, and I still need the remote turn on, so I'm assuming I can use a conductor in here. Alright, here's a quick shot with the DSP mounting bracket installed with the 2 amps on it. I've got all my wiring in here. I still have to kind of clean things up, but I still need to test this, so I'm not going to button up anything till I do that. Still haven't put the head unit in yet, but I've got everything ready to go. Let's see. So I have the head unit in. A couple real quick points I want to make. I would have shown you this, but I've already got everything kind of secure and I don't want to pull it back out. But there were two wire connections that I had to make. One was remote turn on to the amps. What I did was I used the white conductor in the BMW harness. That white conductor I just snipped at this end up here at the dash, and I snipped in the back at the trunk and ran that to the amps for remote turn on. That white conductor is it goes directly from the dash to the trunk. That's easy. The other one was the accessory, the ignition turn on for the head unit, so it's not on all the time. And what I did was I found on the web, and I'll try to find a link for you guys, I'll put it in the description of the video, but somebody referred to a purple and white wire behind the head unit, and I tapped into that, and sure enough it was 12 volt you know, ignition on. So when you turn the key to turn on the ignition, it would send 12 volts to the head unit. So I can't show you that, but just be aware I made those two connections. Alright, just want to show the final installation here. The 2 amps are mounted there. All my wires running from the head unit back here are made, the connections are made back here. Pretty straightforward. And let me show you the sub. Made a custom box. I found some plans online and built a box, and we have a 10-inch Rockford Fosgate sub in there, shallow mount, but really happy with the way that came out. Sounds great, and I can put everything back to look like factory, so nobody even knows, you know, that there's aftermarket stuff in here. Okay, so just a quick rundown of the equipment. This is a JVC KW V20 BT and Polk DB651s in the front door only, coaxial, and I've got a Rockford Fosgate R2D4 shallow sub, which was about 60 bucks on Amazon, and I built the box, which, you know, was about 20 bucks of wood and materials. So pretty low budget system. You know, the head unit was the most, 300 I think, and then Polks were, I think, 60. The sub was 60, so pretty low budget. I had the amps, you know, that's kind of doesn't count, I guess. The amps are pretty good quality, but they're very old. But anyway, this system, if you want to hear it, let's cue it up. Fruits of my labor.
It's coming up, 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 it's coming up. It's there. It's there.
So you can tell it's night and day difference from the OEM setup. Sounds so much better. I got Bluetooth, I've got hands-free calling, all of that stuff. I encourage you guys to just dig in and don't be afraid to remove the existing DSP system. It's, you know, it had its heyday, and it's long past. It's time to you know, go with the better stuff. So hope this helped you guys.